guys, and welcome to another Polymer clay tutorial. Today we are going to create a battleship fighting scenery from the mobile game World of Warships Blitz. This game, World of Warships Blitz, provides really good 3D models and images of the ships, and this was a really good starting point for me to create these prints as, well, the starting point for the tiny ship models. Well, for those of you who don't know the game, World of Warships Blitz is a free-to-play game available on Google Play and App Store, and I am happy to announce that this video is sponsored by World of Warships Blitz. Let's get started, let's create our fighting battleship scenery. And I think the game was just released at the beginning of this year, so it is almost very new. And it's a port that I played the original one, the World of Warships, on the PC, I think 3 years ago. So I was really happy to hear that there is a mobile port for the game, and I was somehow surprised because it doesn't really feel like a port. The use of my touchscreen really feels intuitive, and this is what I am always looking for in a mobile game, especially when it is a port. I tried to play Fortnite on mobile and it was a horrible experience in my opinion. This is the Yamato, a Japanese battleship, by the way, and while creating I wanted to be as accurate as possible because the game features real ships from, I think, 6 different countries that participated in the World Wars. So I wanted to make sure to create the real ships and not only any fake models for my tiny scenery. This is this will be the Japanese hull, the Japanese ship. It is the Yamato in the game, I think. This is the one which is most difficult to kill because it has the best survivability, the Yamato. It is a tier 10 Japanese battleship, and while creating I also tried to get the model, the upgraded version, because in the game you can upgrade all your ships and it should look like a beast ready to go into the oven. Freshly baked hulls of the 2 battleships, and now the funny part starts with all the crazy details. We start with the American one. This is the USS Montana. It is the strongest ship in the game regarding power of weapon. The Montana is a tier 10 US battleship and it has huge guns and anti-aircraft capabilities. And this is pretty helpful as I created four tiny planes in my tiny world, in my tiny fighting scenery. And these are Japanese warplanes. I can't tell you the exact name, but they are from the game as well, as there's a very, very big Japanese aircraft carrier. Really impressive big boy. And these are the exact same planes I tried to create in the tiny fighting scenery. Okay, some more details on the towers of the ship, of the USS Montana. Almost done. Now we are creating the 4 heavy guns, and there will be 2 on the left side and 2 on the right. And these are the tiny flag guns, the anti-aircraft weapons, these tiny boxes I created in the middle part. And this is a tiny crane which goes to the rear. I assume this is for the lifeboats. And now I'm using a very thin aluminum wire for the guns. and we will paint them after oven hardening with grey acrylic paint. Also the other ones as well. Well, this was a bit tricky as the guns are very tiny. Still wasn't sure in which direction the guns will point, but we can change this after oven hardening as well. Okay, that's it for the USS Montana. Whoops, almost forgot the tiny mast. I think there are two of them, and one for the flag, the US flag. Placing the last two tiny details, and now we can focus on the Japanese battleship. It is called the Yamato. I'm not sure if I pronounce it the right way. And this one is made out of silver clay. The US battleship I created from just grey clay, but for this one we will go silver, and I will use brown acrylic paint for the wooden look on the deck. Still using the game on my iPad to get all the details right. In the game there are 4 different classes of ships. Beside these battleships there are also the cruisers. I think this is the most diverse class of ships. Then you have the destroyers with high speed and well, they are somehow the scouts of the team. Then the battleships, of course, and the aircraft carriers, the heavy big ones with all the warplanes on them. First I thought about creating a US ship fighting against an aircraft carrier, but then I thought I could also include some of the airplanes while creating a Japanese battleship. So this is one flag in the front and one in the rear. A tiny crane as well for the lifeboats. And we can place all these details and ships onto the plate. And this one is finished. Now the warplanes. Here you can see the very big and heavy Japanese aircraft carrier, and this one is called Hakaruyu. I think it's the biggest one in the game, and the typical warplanes, the typical Japanese ones, are green. I don't know why they created them green. Probably it has a camouflage effect on blue ground like the ocean, and also in forest terrain, placing the tiny heck fins and the propellers. This is silver clay, and the warplanes are finished and ready to go into the oven. And now I was really looking forward to create the ocean, because I could use a lot of old clay, tons of old clay. And normally they are just lying around until I find a purpose for them. And for this occasion I need a lot of this, because I really wanted the ocean to pop up a little bit. And may I introduce my new technique. This is the footprint of death. At least for one of my plates, which broke. There was too much pressure, but it worked pretty great on the clay. It got really smooth and thin. Yeah, and now I'm putting an outline around, and after that we can start creating the ocean and the ocean texture. For this I take the dark blue and even some black and bright blue, and we are mixing it all together, but please don't mix it too much, because you really want to see still some of the bright parts in the dark blue clay, like this. It already looks amazing, I think. It already looks like the surface of the ocean. And I'm cutting slices to place them onto the clay dirt, the leftover pieces. And for the side part of our ocean, the texture inside the clay should be straight from the bottom to the top, so there should be tiny lines. I think you get what I mean. Placing them all around, and now the funny part starts, closing all the gaps with my modeling tool so that you don't see yellow clay in the fighting scenery. I used this technique before. You may remember one of my Pokemon tutorials. It turned out pretty great, so I wanted to repeat this effect, and now I'm doing some color gradients. I'm mixing a slightly brighter blue for the path where the ships are floating in the ocean, because it is always a bit brighter. It's a bit brighter right there. There are so many air bubbles in the water from the propeller, the underwater propeller from the boats, from the ships. And I'm making a print in the clay to see where to put this brighter clay, making it smooth, that it has the same height than the ocean around. Also for the Japanese battleship. And here we go. Now we can add the even brighter one for a lot of air bubbles in the water. And also for the US battleship as well. Because I thought, although they are fighting, they would be still moving in the open water. If you have never played a war game title before, you will be really pleasantly surprised to learn that there's absolutely no energy system. For me, this always sucks in games, but in World of Warships Blitz there is no energy system or restriction, so you can, and this means you can make as many battles as you can do during one session. And I like that a lot. Now this is my pointing tool for even some more water bubbles right next to the ship. And I also think the ocean effect turned out pretty great by using the big pointing tool. And now for the side of our scenery, I'm using my modeling tool again. And we will also use some transparent liquid clay for an even better water effect. Just adding the last water details. And this is the liquid clay. It gets transparent after oven hardening. Don't use too much, because otherwise you get these transparent tiny spots and it doesn't look that amazing that it already looks like right now. The last working step for this water scenery would be to stick in the aluminum wire for the tiny warplanes. 3 supporting ones in the backside and 1 very brave one in the front, and we are ready to go into the oven. Freshly baked ocean and freshly baked warships. You already get an idea what it looks like finished when placing next to the boat. And now we use some acrylic paint. This is brown. I even mixed in some darker brown for the wooden planks on the deck of the Japanese battleship, the Yamato. It already looks very interesting. I really like the look of acrylic paint. If you don't pay too much attention, it looks very interesting to the pattern. And I even used a black pen for some details. You can still see the details in the front, but I removed them afterwards. Also this line, I thought it would look nice but in the end I went without these lines, so I used some acrylic paint to remove it again. Now this is the big tower with all the heavy weapons and the tiny crane in the front. No, it's the rear, I'm sorry. And the USS Montana is also finished to be assembled. I read that one of these ships during World War II costs like 20 million US dollars. The pen didn't look that good, so I decided to go with acrylic paint as well. The ship looks from above, looks very dark, and I would say it also has a camouflage effect purpose. Now placing all the ship parts on the deck. Also the tiny anti-aircraft guns, and we are painting using our camouflage color for the towers as well. If you are an historic geek like I am, you really appreciate that the developers paid a lot of attention to all the real models from the World Wars. So there's a lot of accuracy in the game when it comes to historic facts of the planes and the ships. I think I even spent hours scrolling through the tech tree and just looking at all the renderings of all the ships. So, if you're interested in this game, you can download it for free, and I will include a link in the description. Now let's focus on the ocean, because it still looks a bit weird. And now it looks wet with a transparent polish, as it is supposed to look. I just love this polish. And some acrylic paint for the chimney on the Japanese battleship. But, well, you won't see these details, because now we will blow up the Japanese ship to bring in some action into the scenery. I thought it would be just fair, because this one also has supporting warplanes. This is the black smoke. So this is just regular wool. You can buy it in different colors, or even paint it yourself with acrylic paint, for example. I did that before. And the tiny Japanese flag in the middle of the smoke. It looks like as if the ship is saying, "Okay, that's it, we lost." That's the tiny line. And now we are creating a gray line for the USS Montana as well. Wrapping it around the tiny antennas as well. And this will be the US flag, the tiny US flag. Cutting it out with my scalpel and placing it onto the pole with super glue. Now, this is the gun which is shooting right now, either at the Japanese battleship or at the airplane in the air, the brave one in the front. And I'm just using my scissors for the extra liquid clay. That was too much of it. So, I hope you enjoyed this creation as much as I did. Check out the game if you like battles. There's a really good chance you'll be sticking around for a long time. And guys, I guess finally, that's it! What a long tutorial. Please leave me a comment down below. If you want, go check out this game. I also include a link in the description. I guess that's it for today. Thanks a lot for watching. Guys, take care and see you next week on Friday. Bye! Yeah!